Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Happy cruising, everybody. And today we're talking about our experience when we decided to do back-to-back cruising in Alaska. A few reasons we decided to do that. One of them was cost, really. Vancouver, we were thinking about having some extra time at the end of our original cruise that we had booked, which was a 7-day Holland America on Zuiderdam, and I'll have some photos and some information about that ship on another video for you. And we were going to follow that by another week in Vancouver, but when we started doing the costs and looking at it, and Colleen found another cruise that was departing on the day that we disembarked Zuiderdam, it was cheaper to do another 11-day cruise and see more places in Alaska and Canada than it was to stay for a week in Vancouver. And we had really already packed in a full itinerary and was seeing quite a lot in Vancouver, and I think we were quite happy with what we did there before pre-cruise. So that's what we decided to do.
And it was also a cost factor in terms of flights.
Yes.
Because obviously getting there is quite a chunk of your budget.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to maximize our time over there. For us to go all that way for 1 week or even, like 9 days or something, it just seemed
a bit mad.
A bit mad for us.
Yeah.
So we decided that that's when we started trying to explore all the different options of what to do once we were there, and it turned out better for us to.
Yep. Hi, Trevor. Oh, that's okay. Little side note. There's Colin's husband just coming home,
and Millie the dog.
Millie's telling us that there's a burglar, but that's all part of the experience with us. Let's just keep it real, okay? So, we booked our 7-day cruise on Holland America, which we loved, followed up by an 11-night cruise on the Grand Princess, which we also loved. Doing it this way, apart from the fact that we got to see a lot more of Alaska and a lot more of Canada, which areas that we wouldn't have gotten to if we just had have stayed in Vancouver, and the cost saving was the fact that we obviously both cruises did the standard ports, Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, that type of thing. So that was absolutely really good for us because we could plan very carefully what we wanted to do. We booked 2 particular excursions, one on each cruise, which were absolutely brilliant. But we also had then the opportunity, because we were coming back for a second
bite at the cherry,
we could spend more time in port, see more, do more, and explored and got a really good look at those 3 particular ports.
And also, which was it? Was it Juneau that we went to the first time?
That was
raining.
Yeah.
So we were a little bit more limited with what we could do. So the second time we were there, it was just gorgeous. So,
the weather was beautiful.
So going on back to back, don't be nervous about revisiting those ports because you have so many options of things to do. And if the weather isn't fantastic on any given day, you have a better chance of experiencing things with the weather good.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so much to see and do in each of those ports that it's a pity that you're really only there for 1 day, because you have to be selective about what you can do. Going back for a second time really gave us the opportunity to explore further, and I think it worked really well for us. Thoroughly enjoyed that. As I mentioned, we did a couple of excursions on the shore excursions on the cruising. 2 of them we'd really like to mention because they were just absolutely brilliant. Yeah. One of them was
the Glacier Point Wilderness Safari.
Oh, gee whiz.
We had such fun on that excursion. That was a kayak one, eh?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And we just went on these kayaks that were motorized, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So when our arms got a little bit tired, they just put the motor on, so
Yep.
it was fun. But it took us slightly out of our comfort zones. And we were out on the water, and we paddled up to the most magnificent glacier, and we stepped out and we walked, and we felt like we were just removed from it was just we were just in Alaskan wilderness.
It was beautiful, absolutely
we
beautiful.
felt like we were just on some special safari, and that's exactly a good word for that tour, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely wonderful. The other one we did was where we had a big catamaran or whatever come out, a motorized cat come out to the cruise ship and pick us up, and while the ship was sailing on to Juneau, and took us to Tracy Arm Inlet and to the Sawyer Glacier, and oh my God, that was magnificent. They would pull the boat up into nose into the waterfalls coming down. There was chunks of huge
kryptonite.
Glacier blue ice, massive pieces floating down. The people on the cruise ship didn't get to see that because the ships can't come into this area. It's only smaller boats. Oh my God, it was magnificent. Well worth doing. Loved
It is an
every minute.
expensive excursion, so I think sometimes people look at it and go like, "Ooh," but honestly, for what it gave us, it was just like a cherry on the cake, wasn't it?
It was. It was beautiful. And we like to do things with a bit of a budget in mind, but we did decide to do that, and absolutely glad we did. No regret there at all.
Yeah, the two things we actually splashed out on a third thing as well, and we did the train out of Skagway.
Yeah, great.
What was that, the mountain?
Yeah, that was the White Horse Pass, the train out of Skagway, where it's the old carriages, and they take you up the pass. And what happened with us, because it was still COVID sort of coming back, it takes you up the pass, stops, and then it turns around, loops, and comes back down to Skagway. The scenery is magnificent.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I've done that particular excursion twice. Once, this cruise that Colin and I were on, they were going in September, and I've done it before in May on one of the first cruises of the season, and it was like chalk and cheese, because in May it was snow right up to the train, and pristine and beautiful, and this time it was just no snow as such. You could see snow on further peaks, but it was magnificent. Either way,
got a more summer feel.
Either season, it was fantastic. Loved it. Highly recommend that. Don't go to do an Alaskan cruise and not do that excursion. I think, so.
Yeah, if you do nothing else in Skagway, do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it was fantastic. We had a great time. And the other thing that Colin was talking about before was, and she reminded me that on the last cruise we did in September, it was actually the last cruise of the season. And because we're from Australia, obviously, the cruise ship was actually making its way back to join down for the Australian season, and we were saying,
Melbourne, I think it was.
Yeah, there was quite a few people who were staying on board, and we wish we were two of them, but we had to fly home. But I tell you what, that is a really good thing. Look at the last cruise of the season, particularly if you're going off elsewhere, if you come from Australia, and cruise home.
Absolutely, you can't beat that.
Wow.
And it came through, was it Bora Bora, Tahiti, and all of that? So,
wonderful. Do it.
Yeah.
As far as seasons go, the September season, sometimes I've read things or seen things where people are saying, oh, it's not. The weather was perfect, absolutely perfect. We had rain a couple of days. You'll see in a photo, once at Prince Rupert, it was quite a hilarious photo. I'll put it up. And then once in Juneau or wherever. But apart from that, the weather was just perfect. It was beautiful blue, clear skies.
The ship captain actually commented that our cruise was the most spectacular in terms of weather. When people have sort of steered clear of cruising at that time of the year, we got gold, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
And
we did.
All the staff actually couldn't believe it, because with Alaska sometimes the clouds can be quite low. With us, we had magnificent blue sky, glaciers. You'll see by some of the photos.
Glacier Bay was stunning, because it was just blue skies, and glacier ice, and oh God, it was just perfect, absolutely perfect conditions. We couldn't believe our luck.
There are different options for you to choose if you are looking at doing some back-to-back cruises. You can cruise like we did. Our first cruise left Vancouver, returned to Vancouver, and then we cruised the second cruise as well, in and out of Vancouver. Another clever idea is to sail from Vancouver, go up to Whittier, which then gives you access into Denali and all the national parks within Alaska, which I haven't done it myself, but also just a whole beautiful wilderness experience. On your return, it can be a little bit tricky getting back to Vancouver or any other destinations. It's quite pricey. It normally always involves an overnighter of some sort, either getting on or getting off, because you are limited with flights out of there.
And yes, if you're getting back to Vancouver too, a lot of the time you have to fly via Seattle or Denver. So
Yes, so it can be a little bit clumsy if you're doing only a one-way cruise. So that is also why we would recommend, if you're going to look at doing a back-to-back, that's one option, but then look at return cruises and see, even if you have to hop on Carnival or P&O or any other, it doesn't matter. It's about the destination. It's not about the ship sometimes, especially in a region like that. And then get back to Vancouver that way. So again, it's cost effective. There were a few little ports that Suna went to, and that's the beauty of a back-to-back cruise, especially some of the longer Alaskan cruises, is you do get to see more ports. You get to see just like cruise ports off the beaten track a little bit, like for example Sitka,
which is lovely. And then we did a beautiful walk in Sitka down through the national park and through the totem area. It was just a pretty
and you
place.
could sort of see it had like a Russian influence, didn't it, at one so that was very nice. And then one of my absolute favorite ports of our whole cruise experience over there was Victoria Island. I found that to be charming, quaint. The Fairmont Hotel, front and center of the whole sort of viaduct area, is just beautiful.
It had a really lovely atmosphere there.
It did. It was a really, really beautiful. And the buildings, there was a lot of character, a lot of history. It's definitely a place that I would highly recommend if you can get a cruise to stop there. Or even if you don't stop there, just catch a seaplane, which there are so many of flying out of Vancouver, or a little ferry. It's not far.
No.
And
go and have a stay for a night or two. Even.
Yeah.
I would like to do that, I think, next time I go.
It's definitely well worth an explore.
So Icy Point Strait is another area that the longer cruises tend to go to as a cruise port, so also an option.
And something that you brought up today is know what you're sort of wanting to see, because some cruise ships don't go into Glacier Bay, is it?
No, not all cruise ships do, and Glacier Bay to me is a highlight. There are other areas, there's Herbert Glacier and that kind of thing, but Glacier Bay, just the sail in and the sail out, and then the time spent down there in front of the glacier is magnificent. And that's where we saw carving of and the sound that it makes. It just echoes through that whole area. It's just brilliant. So I think for me personally, if I'm doing an Alaska cruise or recommending it, I would say choose an itinerary that includes Glacier Bay.
And maybe if you are thinking about doing an Alaskan cruise, do it sooner rather than later. Because people have actually been quite astounded as to how fast the glaciers are retracting. And the further they retract back, the further away the cruise ship sits, because obviously it narrows down towards the glacier. So the ships, what they tend to do is they tend to spin, which is really fantastic. So wherever you are on the ship, you get a brilliant view of the glacier.
It doesn't matter. We had balcony cabins, but and so we spent some time on our balconies looking, and then some time up around on the open decks. And it doesn't matter which side of the ship you're on, as Colleen said, because they spin. And even if you know, it's too, you don't want to go outside, it's cold, you don't like the cold, whatever. We were up in the buffet area at one point, sitting out there looking at the beautiful view just outside the window.
It was
And there's
magnificent.
people, oh my God.
You didn't need to put on a puffer jacket.
No.
You could just sit in a t-shirt.
Sit there and have a glass of wine or whatever, or, you know, lunch or whatever, and just sit and enjoy it. Have a cup of coffee. It's all good. So, yeah, it's a great destination for cruising.
It really is.
It absolutely
And
is.
trust me, photos don't do it justice.
No.
You know, we've taken a lot of photos. We've seen a lot of photos that other people have taken, but to stand there and see some of the sunrises, the sunsets, just even on the sea days, just having that quiet, and we saw a few seals, you know, following the boat. There were dolphins following the boat. There were
and hopefully
bald
whales.
eagles, and there's quite a lot. We saw a mountain goat.
We did. More than one. And it was just wonderful. So it's a great experience, and it's a great place to cruise.
Well worth visiting.
Okay, there we go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Happy cruising, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.